Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Moviecast, episode 495.
Ooh, baby.
On Cinco de Mayo, May 5. Although when you hear this, it'll be the day after. And also on, was this May, the Revenge of the 5th? It's the Revenge of the 5th as well, after May the 4th. So a lot of names for May 5th, but this is our podcast, 495. Welcome, folks. We got some news to talk about today. We've got some
Six Walker.
Yeah, there you go. We've got some news to talk about today. We got a topic, of course. We're going through TV shows, the 2000 list. So we're gonna go over that, and I think we're gonna be looking at ideas for those listening right now and viewing. If you could send them in, we're looking at ideas for deep dives into content for like movies or franchises, really, of where we would like to see them go. So if you have an idea for what you'd like us to discuss on this podcast, you can go ahead and submit that to podcast@allyoucangeek.net or on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, comment on the video or whatever wherever you're watching this or listening to this, comment in the review or something. Just give us suggestions because we're going to be looking to do some new. We did a deep dive a long time ago of like Aquaman, I think, but we're going to do another one. Yeah, no pun intended there. We're going to be doing these kind of things for like franchises and stuff going forward. So, let us know. Anyways, let's get into what we've been watching, guys. I haven't watched much because I've been playing tons of Final Fantasy. So, I basically added some more Harley Quinn show. That's about it, really. I watched. I'm on the second. You
guys didn't watch that you posted, did you, Tony? The little snippet of the Snyder Cut thing.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch it? Oh, you watched it?
I posted
it.
Oh man.
What?
No, I didn't know if you watched it because there's big spoilers in it.
Oh.
What? Did I miss a post? When did that happen?
No, they just it was a.
I was waiting for the joke, so I probably didn't. The spoiler probably went past me.
I mean, the whole thing basically tells you the story of season 1. I think that's what it does. So it's like spoiler season 1 is all.
Okay. Okay. I see what he posted. Then I found it the other day. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I've been watching Harley Quinn, which is a great show, and enjoying it quite a bit. I'm 2 episodes away from the last one, so I'm on episode 5 in the season. I think I'm on 6. Okay. Yeah. So it's so quick to watch. But that's pretty much it for me. Like new to watch, watching Expedition Unknown, like I mentioned, and wrestling, and that's about it really. Virtual baseball, I was watching that just now, watching Jeff McNeil lose in MLB The Show. They're doing their tournament. So that's it for me. Mike?
So I've watched a little more of The Last Dance, not too much because it was just at work, so I couldn't concentrate too much. But a little bit more of that. And then also I did the first 2 episodes of Young Justice Season 3.
Nice.
I don't know. There's something. It just feels a little off. I don't know. I know you guys all. I think you finished it, right?
I didn't finish
Everyone?
it. No.
I don't know. It's just maybe it's been too long. I don't remember exactly. I didn't rewatch anything going in, so I kind of don't.
I feel that
remember where it left
felt
off.
that way too, though. The first 2 seasons were so good, and then this one is kind of like that separation factor, and then it didn't live up to his. And doesn't take off right away either, so it's like you kind of have to catch up with everybody. So there's a little bit of that. There's new characters, and
I'm very surprised they didn't do a previously thing on it at all. They just jump right in.
Recap episode.
Yeah,
or something like that. I was a little surprised. I noticed that it's listed as a PG show, not like a Y7. It's not like a kid's show that's has some adult more adult oriented. It's more like a cartoon for those kids when they're older, which I get, but there's differences you can see a little bit even early on. So I'll keep going with it. It's not bad or anything. It's just
a shame it took so long because it aired 8 years ago at this point, something like that.
It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a while, and it's just hard to get once you're on a hot streak, people move on, the passion's gone, and stuff like that. You're not gonna have the same creative team. I don't think everybody, from that was on there to work on again, stuff like that. But eventually I'll subscribe to the service. Maybe
We'll see. I mean, by the time you're ready to do that, you might have it in HBO or something.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
That's my holdout there, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's all right. We'll see how it goes. But other than that, that's all I've watched.
Okay. Corey?
Finished Chuck and Castle stuff, and so I started watching Psych because I mentioned I kind of wanted something more a little upbeat, a little lighter tone. That show is interesting at first. You're like, I don't know, but then it gets pretty good. So I've been actually enjoying that. It's going through all these like mid 2000s, late or 2010 area, I guess.
Hey, that's our
10-year.
I mean, our list is like the 2000. Most of my list is like mid 2000s.
No, I was thinking about these shows. I'm like, oh, I could probably go through that one again now, and so yeah. But that's pretty much it on my end.
All right, Tony.
Well, in celebration of May the 4th, I finished Clone Wars last season.
Oh, correct.
Oh, I didn't get to watch that yet. Oh, good. Was it good?
Yeah, I mean,
is there a big spoiler at the end? I'm trying to avoid things. Like, I'm guessing there's big spoilers or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't say spoilers. I mean, the thing is, like, what's going to happen.
Where it's going.
You know where it's going and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not like... But they do a really awesome job of tying things together and integrating it into, the canon movies and stuff like that. I would say the first part of the season, like the first 4 episodes, are like kind of cool because it's okay. Like, it sets you back in the tone and introduces like this new group of characters. Then like there's 3 or 4 that are just kind of weird because it introduces more characters, but it just feels like it's kind of arbitrary. But then the last 4 are honestly amazing. Like, they could have easily put those 4 together and just called it like an animated movie, and I wouldn't have batted an eye. Just the animation, the quality, the art direction. There are some like shots in this that are just, I don't know, maybe it's stupid. Like, I call it like wallpaper worthy, where just like, yep, I'll just screenshot this and I'll just use it as my background image or my phone image or something like that. And it's some really powerful moments for a couple of the characters that you've come to know. Some closure for some of the threads that went on throughout the series and stuff like that. So definitely worth a watch, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Cool. I like I said, it's on my list. I'm gonna watch now that I'm caught up really with Harley Quinn. I can get that going, and I'm just trying to finish Final Fantasy. That's my goal right now. So I have one goal. It's been like, it's tough because of you got to balance your time here with everything going on, and it's just like I got a lot of gaming in, but I didn't get a lot of watching in this last week. So, but yeah. So, all right, cool. All right, let's get into some news, and then we'll get into our topic, which is the our top TV shows of the 2000s. So let's see. Let me get the news open here and I have it completely closed. Sorry, everybody. Here we go. We're gonna kick off with Cate Blanchett in talks to play Lilith in a Borderlands film adaptation. Is this real?
Variety's reporting.
Seems a little old.
Variety's
we know the Borderlands movie's coming. Like, we've talked about the director wanting to kill the cosplay fans on screen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's cool that starting to get casting rumors, but
Corey, as your big fan.
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have picked Cate Blanchett for Lilith. Seems like a little older actor for the role.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I mean, ageist.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. He's our Borderlands expert on this podcast. If he's not impressed.
I mean, I'm thinking franchise. I'm thinking like you want to, you can't Ben Affleck this, Jim.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with his age.
I mean, you like Ben Affleck for Batman, right? I mean, he was.
I love Ben Affleck for Batman. I'm just saying, like, you get an older actor for this role. It seems,
Do you really think they're gonna make a franchise out of it? Like, it's not like,
Borderlands. I mean, they want to make a franchise of anything. Sure, I would love to see.
That's the current state of movies now. If you can't make a franchise, what's the point? That seems to be the way it goes now.
Well, it's all about franchises. As we're going to discuss, like, our deep dives, I think, cover franchises better, where we like to see them go. Like, if it's just one movie, what's the discussion?
Yeah, and that's the idea. Do you think that's even in the best case scenario, go past 3 movies?
No. Best case scenario? No way. I mean, I wouldn't expect it.
Wait, best case scenario. Best case scenario, you don't think it'd be like Fast? Like, you have like 9 movies, heist movies in Borderlands?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, go on, Tony. What were you gonna say?
Oh, no, I was gonna say, like, I mean, even, I agree. Like, if you look at her number, yeah, sure, like her age, it is older, but I don't think she looks remotely near.
No, I mean she's a very
after Megan and stuff like that.
woman.
Right,
I mean,
and
I
plus,
have no problem with her as an actress. I just don't see her playing that role as a fan.
Right.
Does this character have a certain like youthful?
I mean, she's supposed to be like under 30 in the games, like in the Borderlands game.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll say that. If she was like, whatever. I don't know anything about the character, but if it's part of the character.
Also, like, I can't really see. I mean, I think of Cate Blanchett as someone who's more like elegant in a way, like almost
just because Randy Pitchford's a fan of hers,
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. It seems like some of the dialogue.
Was she on his thumb drive?
Oh boy.
That woman's a magician.
She's a great name to throw out there, though. It's you get good actors like that. It gives some validity to the project, I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Credibility,
Okay. All right. Other news: we got Joe Russo, recent writer
just
for Extraction on Netflix. Yeah, they're getting a second movie, so they got a green light to go with a script. I have not seen Extraction yet, but it's very popular with viewers. I mean, it landed at a good time for people that are inside and want to see an action movie, mindless action, and I think it fits perfectly for that. We're in May, summertime blockbuster flicks. We're not getting that now, popcorn flicks. We're not doing that. So like this would be great.
Yeah. Fast 9 was supposed to be coming out soon, or supposed to be out.
That reminds me, guys. Go on. Yeah,
I was gonna take a moment to point out that Extraction is breaking Netflix records right now, and it's one of those things that they're so far ahead of the game. Like I remember us talking about Disney Plus, and it's great that Disney Plus is out, but I view it right now as more of a catalog service than anything. And as we could see, like it's been months, and we're still waiting for new content like that's original and stuff like that. So Netflix is just years ahead of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As we mentioned, just to tie into Netflix here while we're still talking, Nicolas Cage cast as the Tiger King.
It's so weird.
So let me get this.
Embrace your memeage.
Tiger King is a documentary series that I've never seen on Netflix that everybody's watching, and it's terrible, I heard, but it landed at the right time. So they're going to make a mockumentary?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's kind of like The Room, I think. This has Mike all over it.
No, no. First of all, if you choose, there's two big documentaries out right now. You can watch The Best of Humanity or The Worst. And I chose The Best. And that's all I'll say about this.
But you love terrible things when you're watching terrible things.
I like it when it's fun to watch, but I don't. Also, like, I understand the idea of a mockumentary of something that you're not really even, like, they're real people, but you're not really supposed to take them seriously anyway because they're completely ridiculous morons. So, I don't know. I don't even know what the point of this is, to be honest.
It's just taking advantage. I mean, that's one of those, again, just a new thing that Netflix did that is, getting into the culture of, just meme, internet, water cooler talk. It's just there.
Yeah. I meant to get into like what I did today, like real quick. I remembered something else. I wanted to go into more Netflix news like we did to tie it in, but I literally spent like probably 20 minutes cleaning my TV screen. Yeah, it was hilarious because I don't think I've spent 20 minutes cleaning any certain surface ever. Like I've wiped down my laptop, stuff like that, but I'm not like. I don't know what it was. My OLED was, we were moving things around today, furniture to clean behind things, and I'm like, I actually got really close to my screen, and I'm like, holy shit, this thing is filthy. And it wasn't just dust, it was like smudges and stuff I don't even know how, because nobody touches it, but it's on there. So I'm like, well, all right, so I got this
obviously
cleaner.
People do.
Yeah. So I got this I had my screen cleaner I bought from Staples, which now closed by me, and this buff rag, and it was like this tiny little circle buff rag like the size of my hand, and this little spray cleaner that you're supposed to spray on the rag and put it on the screen. It literally took me like 20 minutes to get that thing like perfectly crystal clear. I'm like so happy with it right now. I'm proud of it. That's all. I'm just saying, like, just announcing proud that my OLED is pristine yet again. Although the base of it's a little bit like.
I mean, does it matter? Because apparently it's been like that for a while, and you didn't even.
Apparently,
notice.
I don't know. You can't tell when you're that far away, but yeah,
Why'd you get the 4K then?
Yeah. Ooh. The blacks were not that black because they were like, they were all smudgies. They were smudges.
Black.
Yep. Anyways, let's get into more news here. Let's see. Animated Transformers prequel is in production. Is this the War for Cybertron, or this is different?
It's supposedly along with the Bumblebee spinoff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. This one is
This
separate.
is the animated, right?
No, this is just an animated one. Yep.
Yeah, I watched a preview, like a teaser for the War for Cybertron that was coming out for Netflix. There's a Netflix series coming, I guess, this year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that looked amazing. It looked amazing.
Yep.
It looks like Generation 1, in 3D animation.
Yep.
It looks incredible. It didn't have the same Optimus Prime voice. He's not doing it anymore.
No, Peter Cullen though.
Okay. So yeah, this is interesting though. It's Josh Cooley, best animated film for obviously Toy Story 4. So he's going to direct they're like a animated movie prequel, I guess, right? That's what they're looking at doing. So it's interesting. So interesting way to do it. I think that's the way to go rather than the live action. I'm sorry. After seeing the trailer for War for Cybertron, I'm like, I'm psyched.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing is the big movies had their time and place. And, I still like Bumblebee a lot. I would like to see another to that, but yeah, for like the big bombastic mass war stuff, like just do an animated movie,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And finally we've got Taika Waititi is now going to direct the Star Wars, another Star Wars series, saga, movie, not series. Movie. I can't say series anymore. It's because it's TV. But yeah, he's going to make a new set of movies for them. Theatrical release. Yeah, I mean, I'm psyched for this. Like, he's different. Obviously, Thor Ragnarok, but What We Do in the Shadows.
I think this is what we need though.
Series, like, yeah, I think he's different enough that I'm psyched for it. As long as we get something completely new, just give us something completely new.
Well, that's what I think he's gonna do. Like, I mean, even if you just look at like Thor Ragnarok, because like. Thor 1 was okay, was serviceable, and we all agreed, I think, that Thor Dark World was like, bottom to bottom now, especially if you look at it, holistically now. And who thought, I'm pretty sure we all agreed that Ragnarok, we're like overwhelmingly surprised with how, good it was in relation to the franchise and, even what the rest of the universe is.
Kind of reinventing the character as well.
Right, exactly. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't have that tie down now. He can have fresh characters. I mean, I want to see what he can do with this.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
That was my gripe. Like, Rian Johnson, I still feel would make a great Star Wars film. I do. I don't like what he did with Last Jedi. It's not a knock.
It's got to get twisted that night.
But it's not a knock against him because I think he's a fantastic director. I just don't feel like
2.5 years. Let it go.
I know, but it was on TV. It was on TV yesterday. So,
It was on TV yesterday, so reopen that wound.
When you watch that movie,
Luke.
And
not my Luke.
I don't even know if I fully blame him. I blame Disney more for not having a clear vision of what they wanted to do. That's really what this comes back to. Because if you watch those like back to back to back, they don't flow at all because they're just different directors, and it seems like they were like, okay, this is my turn to tell you this whisper down the alley story because I don't know what he wanted, so I'm just gonna fill in the blanks of mine.
Blame Disney. Blame JJ for not coming back. Like,
yeah, I could blame JJ. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been down that road.
So.
Did you guys see? Sci-Fi took it down. Apparently, it's not on there anymore, but it's on Sci-Fi.com. Sylvester Stallone was talking about Demolition Man 2.
Demolition Man 2. Yeah. I forgot that. Sylvester Stallone said that it is happening.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to revive all these old Rocky,
Did
Rambo.
Did care about Rambo though?
No, it won a Razzie for being terrible.
I heard the new Rockies weren't that bad though, because there was two, right?
Creed was
Creed
well,
was,
that's Creed. It's different, but
I didn't see Creed 2, but
yeah.
Good.
I mean, Demolition Man, you don't need a sequel for. That was of its time.
Again, this goes back.
If you don't have Simon,
you can have him.
What was the one with the sea shots? Was that Demolition Man?
Simon cannot come. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. How does it work? Taco Bell, she sells rat burgers.
How would he not be able to come back?
Simon Phoenix? Wesley Snipes?
Yeah, Wesley Snipes is back.
No.
He's back.
He blows up.
Nobody stays dead, Corey. Come on. There's
He was
always
like,
a way out.
An explosion is the easiest death to fake.
No, I'm saying he was freezer dried, whatever, fresh. What is that stuff called? Shit, dry ice. Dry ice got him, and then he like exploded. Then
I don't remember what happened.
He could come up with some ridiculous excuse to like clone him in a lab.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, fucking Star Wars did that. So,
yeah, nothing's off the table now.
A little bit more fantasy, I think, than Demolition Man.
Demolition Man was like sci-fi bullshit.
Not really. Was this the one with Sharon Stone?
No, Sandra Bullock.
Okay. See, I got all these. What was the one? Never mind. It doesn't matter. Just keep going.
All right. I think that's it for the news, right, Jim?
That's it for the news. Let's get into our topic. Topic is 2000s TV shows. I hope I don't droid too much. I'm droiding a lot tonight. Sorry, guys. I don't know what it is.
You're good. You're good. Just push through it, Jim.
All right.
You can do it.
Okay, so I have to say that this was a tougher list than I expected when I was making it, because I realized that a lot of the shows I love still fell in between this and the 2010s. Like, I would put them there as well, some of them. But ultimately, I'm like, I want to mention, because we always forget to honorable mention, so I do want to mention the fact that, like, 24, and I hope it makes somebody's list, Firefly did not, in fact, make my top 5 list, because I bumped them for shows that have worse finales, but I love the show so much.
My list a little bit. Firefly is not on my list either, and that's because
you guys prep that shit up so bad.
It's a great show, but it's too
on my list because I never watched it.
The problem is the movie really ties it together.
Yeah.
Like, without the movie,
that's why I left it off.
It doesn't really land.
You don't actually have that, yeah. So number 5.
I love Firefly, yeah.
The number 5 for me is going to get panned then, because
it's gonna be that's probably my number 5 too. Then
it's Lost.
Yep.
Oh, what? Number 5.
Bingo.
What?
Lost.
J.J. Abrams Lost. Yeah.
So
gross.
What happened was, but the show was so good.
A little dirty too, but
it's all right. Yeah. I can't. After you hear mine, we're in the same boat.
Yeah. So, like, that show was so.
You see, the first season was almost makes up for the entire, like, everything else, and like, I'm talking about it too because it's my number 5 as well, Jim. But like, that show was a phenomenon. It
was fantastic, and it was so good. The early seasons of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm joining, but go on.
It's so good. The second season built on it, and then when you bring in the Tailies or whatever, that whole group, and what's the guy's? I can't remember his name now.
Benjamin.
Ben, yeah. I kept wanting to call him Ben Stein. I'm like, what the? I know it's not that.
Ben Linus, right? It's
Linus. That's it. Thank you.
Ben Linus.
And you bring him in, and then you have obviously the guy in the
Desmond.
Vault. Desmond.
Desmond.
Penny.
Yeah. Not Penny's boat was like one of the best moments ever in a series, and that's the Hobbit. That was the Hobbit. Charles.
It had so many ups and downs as far as emotions. It had such a bad ending. You couldn't end it the way people wanted it because it was just the hype was just too high.
Well, if it had an ending that was pretty good or good, I probably would have rated it higher on my list, but it didn't. It just had a terrible ending, and that crashes the series. And I'm sorry that I ranked something higher that had as bad. It was
like these unfulfilled promises a little bit, Smoke Monster, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep, we didn't get what we wanted out of that. It wasn't even close. And it felt like they didn't have a plan. Again, they didn't know what they wrote, and that's what I hated about it at the end. So, Mike, what was your number 5?
My number 5 is something I didn't watch all of, but I've watched some of it, and I appreciate it more for what it did. My list is sort of eclectic. Again, this was not a big TV watching time for me. I was into sports. It was a good time in sports that decade, but I'm going with The Office, which is actually on this TV.
Do not have to talk about that too long because it'll be talked about later.
It's a consistently funny show, and it sort of killed the traditional sitcom, which I think needed to happen in this decade, at the time, because after the 90s it was over, and so it has this new format for a different type of sitcom, and it lasted throughout almost not the entire, but once it started, it was a lot of the decade. I think it was.
It was all a decade plus over.
It was over.
It went through because it didn't start at the beginning.
Yeah, it didn't start at the very beginning. But
05?
I think 05.
05.
It's so weird watching that because they talk about like when Netflix came out, they talk about Netflix, and I'm just like, man, like it's so weird the meta commentary. Just like it's like they talk about it in the show, and like years later, they're paying hundreds of millions of dollars to have the show on the service they're talking about.
You're watching it on Netflix.
It's fun to see the technology. Again, I was talking about last week. Watching these older shows and how like the technology kind of grows with it.
Yeah. Tony,
I'm just reminding you. I'm talking about the American version. Just like the English language, we refined it, made it better.
The English one was very good, very good.
It was 2001, I think.
Yeah,
so
but it was
this was a different show.
This show,
it was a different
this show got
after
when this show left its
one.
After season one,
season one became rough. Yeah,
because it was very much the same as the British one, but then season 2 was like, nope, we need to make this our own.
Yeah,
like I said, we could talk about that later because I'm going to be discussing this obviously later. So, Tony, you're number 5.
My number 5 is another series that started out great, maybe even amazing, but got consistently worse due to no, I want to take fault of its own because it was during the writer's strike, but that would be Heroes with season 1 being the pinnacle. Yeah,
kind of like us too, just because season 1. Again, season 1 was just
right. That's what I'm saying. Like
just ended on season 1.
I mean, like in the 2000s, I don't really watch too much like syndicated television. But I came out for Heroes because I just even remember the hype for the before it even started, like where it was like the premise was save the cheerleader, save the world. You're like, what the hell? It's like, all right, like intrigued, like just that catchphrase was just like, all right, I'll buy into this because they use like superpowers and stuff like that, and like it was so crazy to think back then, early 2000s, like there's a high, costing, high budget live action series based around like people with superpower, aka X-Men, and it's like. That's crazy to me. That is insane. Back then, that would like nobody would have ever done that.
Sure.
No. So you watch that in season 1, it was just this perfect combination of interesting characters. Yes, thank you. Interesting characters, stories, plot lines, locales, because you have people all over the world and stuff like that. And it was so interesting watching. I mean, it was so easy for this to go wrong, as we found out in the later seasons. But going from group of characters to group of characters and how they interact and eventually meet up was like fantastic. Just oh god, like the season 1 was just so good and
so fantastic. I remember Corey, we watched that.
Yeah. That was like our Monday nights or whatever.
Monday night sandwich. Yeah. Yep. Monday night sandwich. That was out.
I still remember too, like some of those.
Siler was such a fantastic villain.
He was a fantastic villain. Like, oh my god! And he just got worse as the seasons went on.
Right. Well, once the mystery was gone,
I'm bad. I'm good. I'm bad. Like,
but once the mystery was gone, it was kind of like, there's no mystique to him anymore. And just like it's that whole like you were more afraid of what you don't know than once you kind of like reveal the trick. It's like
exactly.
Oh, now I know how it's done. I don't care.
Yeah. But it's just some of the like really awesome characters, like Hero especially so iconic with or the Doctor.
Nissan Versa.
Yeah, or the guy with who's the Doc. He didn't have powers initially, but he was trying to help and stuff like that. Or how I remember there's that episode that's almost like Suresh, Dr. Suresh.
Yeah.
How there's that one episode that's almost like Days of Future Past where they went into like future timeline.
They did that. Yeah.
Future Peter, was that his name?
Yep.
It's kind of like the Peter Parker thing, and like he was battling like Siler in the future, and they had like these ridiculous power sets by that point and stuff like that. And I thought it was just an interesting dynamic because it was like about both of these characters that could siphon other powers from other characters in completely different ways. Peter was like empathetic, where he like learned it from being around people and understanding them, where Siler just straight up took it. And it's kind of an interesting mix in correlation to My Hero Academia for people that watch that.
Yeah.
But Hero season 1 was amazing, and it deserves at least the number 5 spot for that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Number 4 for me, I will talk about it probably quickly because I feel like we'll mention it later. Smallville. So
it's also my number 4.
Oh, never mind. Perfect. I thought we would rank it a little bit higher, Mike, but
no. I mean, I'll say that I've watched
a couple other WB shows that are.
I've watched this the most consistently the whole decade, but most of the time while watching the show, even at that age, I said, this is a bad show.
Yes. No, see, I have literally the exact same comments as you. I second this 100%. Go on, Mike.
So yeah, Smallville. It was a interesting, like, sort of high school take on Superman, and even though the actor's like almost 10 years older than me, he was meant to be about my age, like. So it was interesting. You could kind of mirrored in the high school years and then post high school years while I was watching this. And it is Superman, but not.
But not.
And it was 10-year sort of like teasing of Superman, but you never really got it. The show was often frustrating.
What a great
often
Lex.
Funny, but yeah, best new take on Lex, making him be his like a childhood friend who you knew was also like kind of bad, but not really, over and over. And once
see Lex's struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they made him more his age, a little bit older still, but that was the best part of it, honestly. And then you had some shipping going on with Chloe versus Lana versus Lois when she gets shoehorned in there later. And there was a lot of shoehorning in this series. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of it was kind of cool to see these characters, but considering this Superman like didn't even know how to fly yet, it's kind of weird that he's like facing off against like Metallo and shit, like stuff like that beforehand. Yeah. Doomsday.
That was later. That's right. Like, this was the show, like Mike said, like, I loved this show like in the beginning quite a bit, and then I fell out of it, and then I came back when it was on its last like
there
three
was
seasons.
There may have been a season or two I skipped, like when like Lana became like a witch and went to Europe and
like superpowers. Yeah,
she got
the supernatural guy was in the show.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happened, and it got ridiculous. But so it would be higher just because I did consistently watch it, aside from like a season or two in the middle. But it was fun. It was also very frustrating. The finale was very close to being what we were kind of hoping would happen earlier.
And that's why I beat out Lost on my list, by the way, just because it made number 4 because Lost finale was so shit. So it does, that's where that ended on my list. So, all right, Corey, number 4.
Oh, my number 4 is Fringe. That's
great show.
That show is kind of like a spiritual successor to like the X-Files in a way.
Yeah. Yep.
Sci-fi. Very sci-fi, extraterrestrial stuff. The 2 actors are really good in it. Joshua Jackson, I think.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I think that's right.
And something, I don't remember their characters' names now. But then the father was he was so good in this show. Like one of the best acting performances because he plays kind of a double role where he's like this, slower guy who's kind of crazy but brilliant. But then it becomes like an evil genius in like an alternate reality, and just the way that he portrays that is fantastic, and has a actually pretty satisfying conclusion. So, one of my favorite shows of the 2000s. Fringe.
Yeah, no, it was a great show. It was very mysterious with that. I thought it was cool. Like I watched that. I don't think I watched the finale. I don't think I watched the finale for it. That's why. But I really hope you put on something else I didn't get on my list. So we'll see. But there was one show that I really wanted to get to number 5, but I thought Lost was still better than it. So we'll see if you put it on your list. I loved it. And it probably should have made my list. And I felt that's why I kept shuffling. Anyways, number 4, Tony.
I don't know if this is what you were referencing, but for me, number 4 was Battlestar Galactica. No. I don't know if we want to hold off on that. Or...
No, that did make my list. That is my number 3.
Okay. That's so my number 3 as well.
Oh, whoa.
All right, so ESG shows up now. All right, number 4 for Tony, 3 for Corey and myself. But yes,
yeah. So no, I remember this is a show you guys recommended to me.
Oh yeah.
And I was just in the mood for something like that, and I remember watching it with Dan at the time because we were still dating, and like this is like in the early beginning.
Fell in hard.
Yeah, it was like early on in the service, we're just like, holy shit, like this is just incredible, and like there'd be times where like we would watch it because the episodes were so long. There were times where like we would like fall asleep or something, and be like, wait a sec, we got to go back. Because this isn't making sense anymore and stuff like that. But the show was just amazing. Like, it was just this really wonderful, again, combination of, like, an interesting premise, plot. Like, I know it was a remake of the, 1970s show or something like that.
7 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But,
maybe 1970, yeah.
But I had never seen it, and it was one of those things that it was, like, so old that, I couldn't watch it without being like, yeah, that looks really hokey for, because it was a TV show, not like a movie or anything like that. But, yeah, just a lot of great characters, a lot of interesting episodes,
mystery.
even ones that are you're right. The mystery, just that it really
five.
mastered that combination of like usually them ending on an episode on like a cliffhanger of like even if it's a small tip, you're like
that 33 and a like 33
that's one of my favorite episodes of anything.
Right, I was gonna say that's like one of the best singular episodes in any show ever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
In fact, like I kind of want to go back and watch just that episode because I still
just to give people the premise of this thing. Like this show starts off amazingly, where it's like you have human society and like everybody's happy and go lucky, and then like they're gonna meet with the Cylons show up basically and like destroy aliens. Yeah, these are aliens that were invented by humans actually years ago, and they used to be these metal robots. Well, they show up and they're actually not metal robots anymore. They're these humanoid looking people, and they destroy the human race. There's basically like 3 ships left. After
you think there's one.
You think there's one, yes. And no, it may have been 2. I don't remember, but there was one definite ship left, and that was Galactica, and it made the jump in time because it wasn't using newer technology, so it didn't get the virus. But yeah, you had great characters, and Edward James Olmos was, fantastic in this as Adama.
Mm-hmm. He's one of the best portrayals of a fictional character ever. And then the last thing I'll say to that is, it might have ranked higher, but I remember both of you and other friends of mine, specifically telling me not to watch the last season. Like, absolutely just stay away from last season. I was like, all right. And because I know Lost was another hot topic. Like, I have friends that were like, do not watch Lost ever. And I was like, what about just season 1? I hear season 1's amazing. They're like, no, because you're not going to stop there. You're going to want to see what happens in season 2, and then you're just going to watch the whole series and be upset. So I was like, all right, fair. So
yeah, I mean, that's really what happened. I mean, that's why it's not higher on my list, because I love this show and I could rewatch it. I could rewatch this show constantly, but the finale, the last season, forget it. I don't even recognize it as a season.
It was very polarizing.
I should just read about it online or something.
We watched the finale. The finale's polarizing because you can watch the first half of the finale and be very happy.
It should have ended like 3 times before it actually does.
So wait, what was worse, Game of Thrones finale or Battlestar Galactica?
Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. So it's not that bad. All right.
No, because there's still good things in the finale. Like there was no good things in Game of Thrones finale. Like it's just, like there's still, like we just said, you can watch half of this. If you watch 1 hour of this finale, you will be and stop and just turn it off. It's almost exactly like an hour in. You turn the thing off, you will be perfectly happy with how it ended. Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, as far like just things I want to mention real quick is again, that's my number 3 as well, and the I guess when they get the Pegasus, that whole arc is fantastic. Yeah. The when they find a temporary planet and you get Fat Apollo, like oh man, it's so good. But they just seeing how the characters
for like 1 episode too. By the end of it, he's like, I ran a little bit.
Exactly. But yeah, seeing how the characters grow and it's just that hidden traitor aspect to it because you don't know who's a Cylon. It's just like there's always that tension underlining everything. And man, Gaius Baltar.
And they don't even know. Gaius Baltar was great. And they don't even know. The traitors don't even know.
The Cylons didn't even realize it at some of them. But like
I thought this board game captured this show.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Jim, I don't know if you know, but like my friend Bill, who's been on the podcast a couple of times, he recently played that game and he loved it.
Oh, fantastic.
And he wanted to pick up a copy. I don't know if you know, but that game, the board game, is expensive as hell right now because
it's out of print. You can't buy it. Yeah. The company lost the license to it, so you can't actually make it anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, so
somebody's opened up the eBay app.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, so it's absolutely worth watching, just for some of the performances too. Like the performances were just so good in this show. How about you, Mike? What's your number 3?
Yeah, sorry, Mike. I'm looking at this. Yeah, go
on. My number 3. So to change up everything a lot, if I think I'm going with a comedy again, and this sort of defined my high school years a little bit, early 2000s, and that's going to be Chappelle's Show.
Ooh,
this to me is
considered it, but.
Yeah, this is one of the funniest sort of sketch comedy shows, a very unique thing, because normally when you think of sketch comedy, you think of like SNL and like, more like establishments, but this was just a couple years before Dave
had a meltdown,
went crazy and ran away, but It was just, it had some of the most iconic like sketches and quotes. You have Charlie Murphy.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
With Rick James, yep.
Fuck your couch.
you got the Prince playing basketball sketch. You got
blows. Sorry,
yep.
a lot of this stuff.
Yep. It's everything. You got I don't know. The racial draft, that was fun.
Oh God.
The show probably couldn't air as it was now, which is unfortunate.
Oh no, definitely not.
But it was just, and especially maybe I wasn't the target demographic, but I also think it's important that I wasn't, but I still enjoyed it and liked it and understood, because it was back when like people who were different, you could make fun of that, but like understand that that's unfair at the same time. Like, I don't know, and that's kind of like how the whole show was. It was just like, it's like, oh, there's stereotypes and they're funny, but they're funny because they're ridiculously unfair if you apply them.
Like, I mean, one of the skits, like just to add on, it didn't make my list, but now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, I would have at least considered it. But I worked at Best Buy at the time, and I was not into like sketch comedy at all. Like, I never watched SNL, any of the other shows, Mad TV, nothing like that. But that show, like, I remember that DVD would constantly sell out, like constantly. And so, like, the one day I was just like, I had my employee discount. I was like, you know what? Let me see what the show's about and stuff like that. And I was just hooked. My friends and I, we all watched that. I mean, I still remember, like, the one sketch where it's like he plays as a blind white guy that's a KKK member.
Yeah.
No, a blind black guy who was a
blind black guy. That's right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And he divorces, at the end of the sketch, he divorces his wife for being, a lover of them and stuff like that. Yeah, those people. I was just like...
Insane.
Yeah, you're right. That could definitely not air in today's day and age.
I mean, they have slightly censored versions on the YouTube Comedy Central channel. They show it, they throw it up there. Yeah. They really just censor that word, but it wasn't back then because whatever. It's just a different time, I guess. But it was a real fun show, and just consistently funny. It wasn't a lot of it, but.
I think it really boosted Comedy Central for a while too.
Oh yeah, it made it like relevant kind of, because Comedy Central was just like somewhat old like stand-up acts like airing, and then like at night South Park was still on.
Yeah, South Park. Yeah,
but that was their big new show there. So and I think it was the funniest stuff of the decade.
Tony, number 3.
Oh, my number 3. Sorry, did not have my document. My number 3 is a comedy, but different type of comedy. It was more of a show comedy. It was 30 Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Tina Fey and stuff like that. I just love that show because it was kind of out there. And honestly, it was one of those things where like I didn't catch on to it until like maybe a few seasons in, just because it got accolades and awards and stuff like that. But it's just this ridiculous show that starts out with like a fairly understandable premise. Again, it's like about Tina Fey's character Liz Lemon being the head writer or manager for the writers for what is essentially SNL at NBC and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, cool. And like it's about her managing and juggling like the starring actors of that show from like having complete meltdowns and being pedantic children with their requests and shit like that. But then just like as the seasons went on, it got like so satirical and like the weird shit that happened, and just like these characters being greater than anything you hope them to be and stuff like that. But it was just a really great show. It had some, good moments and stuff like that. And
Tracy Morgan was excellent.
Tracy Morgan was so, because he played a parody character of himself.
Yep, exactly.
Tracy Jordan.
Yeah.
So
he had an awesome character. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like just they had so many really awesome guest stars on the show. Like we talked about The Office, like the British Office of Michael Scott. He was on the show. Conan was on the show. Like pretty much any comedian, from that decade or this decade, had at least a guest appearance on that show, to my knowledge.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. All right, number two for me is Chuck, which
for me is Chuck as well.
Oh my God, Corey.
Damn.
All right.
It's like we watched television at the same time.
We may have watched shows a lot. It's really like the 2000s. Corey and I. Let me just we would get together on Monday nights to have our Cajun chicken sandwich from Chili's, which doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, and their fries, and we would get extra fries on the side, to the point where like Corey would call and the people would know what he wanted. Like that's how much we ordered.
And then they stopped making it, and I still asked them to make it, and they did, because they had the Chili's, like the Cajun stuff for the Cajun pasta or whatever. So they just
so you'd have to tell them to look at the old menu and get it that way. But we would meet every Monday night after his work, and he'd come over and we watch a show. Like that's how Heroes got started. We watched that, and then when Heroes got like shit, we started watching like other shows. We kept finding stuff, and we found Chuck, and so we watched Chuck all the way through.
Catered to us, like that was designed for us essentially.
Yeah, it was Nerd Herd, and he's basically a Best Buy Geek Squad employee who becomes
I got some random episodes and enjoyed it. I just never watched it consistently. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I talked about it this past couple of weeks. Like I've been going back through it, and it's so good. And the love story, and it's because it's really a love story about Chuck and Sarah, and then you got it's just really good story
and how different they actually are and stuff. Yeah, it's really you have that whole aspect of how different they are, and because he's like supposed to be the super spy, but he's terrible at that because he's a computer nerd.
Yeah.
So I mean, his friend sent him the Intersect computer in an old game they used to play, a text-based game. What was it? It was Zorg.
Zorg. Yeah, Zorg.
Yeah. Yeah. Zorg. And yes.
It's really it's just fun. Like they do a great job of like the references, the cultural references there, and having spy stuff going on, which doesn't seem out of place. It could definitely be really weird or out of not fit the characters, but everything fits and makes sense. And Zach Levi was fantastic as Chuck, and
that's why I watched most
Adam
of his
Baldwin
stuff
was so good as Casey.
Adam Baldwin was excellent. Yeah.
And Yvonne whatever. Travasky. She was fantastic. So I mean, she's good. Like I just finished it recently too, and it's like kind of bittersweet.
It was like an early role for her. She later appeared in Dexter. For those that are wondering who we're talking, the late season Dexter shows as the blonde. She
Handmaid's Tale most recently, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
this was I think her first role coming over to America. So
yeah. And like I said, I still watch Zachary Levi's stuff because of this. Like, I love his Shazam, and he was in Tangled at Disney, which is to me again a great Disney movie. I will say that he's fantastic. So
I think Yvonne plays a voice on one of the Tangled animated shows as well.
Oh yeah, she does actually. She does. All right, Mike, you're number 2.
All right. Like I said, this is going to be a little eclectic, so I'm doing something totally different. I'm going with Mythbusters.
Oh, nice.
Mythbusters started in 2003, and while the first season was without the build team, which added some much-needed personality to it, once they got in its groove, it became one of my favorite shows that I've watched consistently, and it did bleed into the next decade as well, but it was just great to see all this. Like, I grew up with Bill Nye and Beekman, those type of science shows.
Yeah.
And this was sort of like an adult version of that for me.
Yeah.
Except it was maybe even less scientific and more about applying the scientific method to stupid things.
Yeah.
So you'd have control tests, you would understand, try to limit your variables, but then in the end it's just about a spectacle of seeing what happens when you do ridiculous things based on myths or idioms even, or just superhero stuff too. Later on they did stuff like that, and it was just eventually they had the budget to just blow stuff up in ridiculous fashion just to see what would happen if this happened. They did one of the earliest ones that I remember was the Empire's dropping a penny off the Empire State Building. Could that kill someone? They found out, no, not really. But if they did it ballistically at the similar height, somehow it could. I don't even remember that.
I like when they did the theme, the movies or something, or those.
They did the super. They tried to do a grappling hook. Tried to recreate a grappling hook as it's shown in Batman. And apparently, it's hard to do. It just barely kind of worked, and it needed a motor this big on it. But no, it was great to see. obviously, like with a show like this, some episodes are more interesting than others, but it was something I watched throughout the decade, and even a little.
It was consistently good for sure.
Yeah,
it's one of those things you can just throw on and just kind of
And
all day.
Adam Savage is still, in the universe. He's not been on the show obviously, but he's still like, he's doing like cosplay stuff.
He's got his YouTube channel too, I think.
He really took off and ran with like the whole fame thing. Jamie didn't like it as much as you could tell. He was just kind of there being his Dr. Robotnik self, but it was a fun contrast. And then of course the other three, Tori, Carrie, and Grant.
Yeah.
Yep. Raw Funk Grant from BattleBots fame, and they were just. It was just a good combination, a cast, and best sort of like documentary that I've watched, if you want to call it that, or realistic show. I don't even know what to call it, but it was fun.
Okay. Tony, your number 2.
My number 2 is another comedy, a bit more of a shift from 30 Rock, but it was Arrested Development. It was one of those things that I didn't find out about the show until like after it had already like completed. So like part of me is like, damn, I should have supported the show by watching it. But
money is in the banana.
What have I always told you?
There's always
money in the banana stand. Yeah, it's so great. It's like a clever comedy because it's honestly one of those things that like I think warrants a rewatch because you just get things so much sooner and you understand layers.
There's so many comments like. You always get comments now, like people will refer to that. They'll say like if somebody doesn't agree with something, they'll say narrator, he didn't.
That's where it came from. Yeah. And just so many memorable characters like George, like any of the Blues really. It's like
Jeb.
Jeb. Like what was my favorite?
Magic.
Joe.
Yeah, even in like the first episode, it's like
with the final countdown.
It's like the final countdown. But when he's like. Illusions, Michael. Chicks or something a whore does for money. It's just like, what the hell, dude? Like, or when he's like, oh yeah, like the guy in the $10,000 suit's gonna listen to the guy in the $500. What the fuck? Just these characters, but it's just such an awesome comedy. And again, it's one of those things where you like rewatch it. It has this interesting story that just gets all these zany characters that have immense flaws. Everybody has immense flaws, and they just kind of feed off each other and get parasitic and stuff like that. And just again, a lot of puns, a lot of interesting things like I just blew myself. It's like you might want to rethink that. Do you hear yourself? Anyang. That's one of my favorite things. Stuff like that. Her, her, stuff like that. So yeah, the rest of the development.
It was definitely on my
consideration. Yeah.
All right, number 1's.
Obviously,
number 1 for me.
I think
it's The Office.
Gotta be
Yeah.
The Office.
All three of us.
So you want to let Mike go first since we're gonna probably.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
All right, can you guys guess my number 1?
Angel.
Buffy. Angel.
No, it's Angel.
Angel. Come on.
Yep.
Sorry, they're the same thing to me.
This is a continuation.
Big difference. To me. So for me, Angel, still my favorite show ever. So it was from 99 to 2004, so it was the early half of the decade, and this was like my basically my puberty pretty much, from like 13 to like 16 or something or 17, and it got rid of sort of like the revolutionary aspects of like just sort of relating everything to high school that I kind of found a little oppressive after a while with Buffy. And it was more about just like the nature of morality and, being an adult kind of the next level. But also it was just a fun show too. To me, the character himself, Angel, is like, you have the like sort of darkness and like, animalistic nature of like my 2 favorite superheroes of like Batman and Wolverine, and then take that character and allow him to be like awkward and goofy as well. And that's kind of how Angel was as a character. So I related to him a lot, maybe too much as a kid. And so I really appreciated that. And then like the show it had action, pretty good action for a TV show, even though occasionally it would be too obvious when you saw the stuntmen. But it was solid action. It had a lot of drama. It had romance and stuff, and it was funny, consistently funny. Whedon Whedon's like trademark funniness just throughout, and it had these great. And it was one of these shows where characters would evolve a lot, but you would never get the impression that the writers forgot how things used to be. Like there would always be callbacks. Like the characters would be like, "Oh, don't you remember like 5 years ago? Like you were." They're like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Like I hate when certain shows it seems like the writers just forgot like something that happened in universe like just 2 years ago, but just because the characters change, they like act like it never happened. So it was very consistent, and as much as I liked the action and all the like spectacle which it had, it was these shows where like on rewatches I just like the character moments. I like just seeing characters talk to each other, remembering things I didn't quite catch, and it's with Buffy included, it's like a universe of like 9 shows, 9 seasons between them both. I mean, and it was just very, very interesting for formative me, and it's still my favorite show. It did everything right except for a little bit at the end of the 4th season. So that's it for me.
All right. The Office, guys, I still watch it like yesterday. I have it on usually at night when I want to go to sleep. I just put it on because it's great to have on. I'm listening to Office Ladies now, which is a great podcast. They go over every episode.
Ashley is listening to that as well.
I love that show. They get people back on for interviews, and they go over like every like scene in the episode. They talk about what was going on. But anyways, The Office, a fantastic show. Season 1, okay. Season 2 through 4, I think it's 7. Well, I would go through 4. That was a strike, but I would give them a chance. They came back okay in 5, and then up to 7 when Michael Scott left. I thought was fine. It was a very good show. It was after that was the problem with the show, but love this show. It's still great. It's fantastic. Steve Carell, basically he had 40-year-old version that came out during this time, so I wouldn't say like put him on the map, but it really
behind him to new.
John Krasinski.
When you think of Steve Carell, I think the first character that comes to mind for me is Michael Scott.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then it's John Krasinski for Jim. That was
almost every person on the show. It's like the actors. It's like I think of these characters and as their main role.
It's funny because like watching some older stuff, you could see some of these characters, like the actors, in other things, and I'm just like, wait, that's Kevin, or like that's Oscar and stuff. Like I'm like, the hell are you doing on this show? It's weird. It's like super weird to see and stuff like that.
Yeah. It was fantastic. I mean, I love it. Let's go on, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I would just have to say, like, it's an iconic show that literally spanned the decade, and I think the humor, the presentation, just like Michael was alluding to earlier when he hinted upon it, like it was a different style of a comedy television show, previous to like the sitcom stuff, that changed the game for the better, in my opinion. And today it even holds up. Like, there's some stuff that you can look at and be like, all right, that's a little whatever, but overall it holds up really well. It's generation spanning. Like my older sister, she loved the show. She just watched it like last year and she loved it. My niece, who's 21, she just watched it like last year and she loved it as well. So it's just one of those things that is enjoyable by all ages. Not like just like, oh, that's like an old people thing or something like that. It's just a funny show with iconic characters, really wonderful moments, jokes, memes, scenes, cold opens. It's just one of the
best cold opens. And
and anything.
Awesome. Like the Jim Dwight stuff early on is just hilarious.
The show can make you feel so awkward and yet laughing like crazy.
Oh God! So. I think the worst secondhand embarrassment or secondhand cringe, whatever you want to talk about, is the Scott's Tots episode. I cannot watch that episode anymore. I cannot. I always skip it on a rewatch. I'm just like,
There are definitely some awkward ones out there, but I have to say, like, for this show, for the laughs, like how much like they offer and the jokes and stuff are so iconic. Like this show had so much heart to it that like it just made you feel good watching the show, because all these characters are such like beautiful messes essentially, that and yet like you're rooting for them and you're trying to, you want to see them succeed. And like what they did with Michael and making him like this crazy eccentric idiot almost, but like he always brings it around and like does something to make it like to make you realize that he's actually deserving of his role as like the boss and leader. And that one episode where he shows up to Pam's art show. I mean, I added like a
The
tear.
only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the only one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Michael
And just
Michael
his like
Scott was
innocence,
such
like
a
his
great
has
character.
this innocence to him
Yeah.
as well. Like when he's like, oh, I gotta buy that, and Pam's like, why? He's like, well, it's our building and it's on paper. We sell paper. It's like, duh. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, why wouldn't?
But it's like this, like, but you don't think that, and it's just like, yeah, it's just it's just an amazing character in general. And then obviously Jim and Pam's whole story arc is fantastic. Yeah. And then like the Dwight and Jim rivalry, it's just all these things.
The pranks that Jim pulled, the pranks were awesome.
Right, just all just meld so well together.
I still love.
Go ahead.
My favorite episode was going to be the fire.
Oh, the
fire marshal one where he gave Stanley a heart attack, and he's like, I don't think I gave Stanley a heart attack, please. And he gave like I think his life of eating.
But just like it was awesome because like they had that rivalry thing, but there were certain times in certain episodes where it's like, okay, we have to team up together to like take out something more important and stuff like that. And it's like you see like Dwight be like, okay, yeah, Jim, like we'll do that, and like the whole dastardly thing and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just a great show. Just
Yeah, and it definitely. The characters grew into themselves, and it was natural, organic. It didn't seem forced. The progression between the different relationships and stuff is just really well done, and I love it. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in is that like Andy didn't end up.
Nah, yeah, and I blame the success of The Hangover on that because that's what pulled away from the show.
Cost him a lot. Yeah. So, if I were to tell you guys that there is a show coming at the end of this month on Netflix that is written and created by Steve Carell and the creator of the U.S. Office, Greg Daniels, how excited would you guys be? Because it's happening.
I'd be interested.
Yes, it's Space Force. Steve Carell stars in it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
It's from the mind of Steve Carell and Greg Daniels, who created the U.S. Office. Yeah. So,
well, Mike, do you want to say anything? Because I know we kind of like.
I mean, just to me, it's not really.
Just make sure. Just make sure.
I see right now on Netflix it's number 9 in TV shows today.
Yeah.
Right
still.
Now.
So.
And Dwight is my favorite character though.
Yeah. Oh, he's fantastic.
See, Dwight to me was like just the reference, like our recent podcast where we went through and mentioned Seinfeld. Like to me, Dwight always seemed like Kramer done right, like or more realistic. Because like I always personally hated Kramer because it was like, this is a fucking douchebag. Like I knew this guy, I would definitely get into a fight with him. Like no questions asked, I would definitely fight this dude. But yeah, just like what's his name from Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. It's like you're just a douchebag.
Yeah. All right, list guys. We need to figure out our number 5 because I think the rest of it falls into place. Okay. I mean, with the BSG landed on 3 lists, so that's why it's third. With Chuck at number. So Angel's at number 4 because it was Mike's number 1, and it had the most points. But we have MythBusters and Arrested Development. What would be our number 5?
We can just tie whatever. It's It's not like anybody's like number 5. Like
we don't have this written down anywhere, so.
All right, I write them down. I don't put them on the website, but I write them down.
We should collect that for the episode 500.
I should. Yeah, I have them written down. I had to find my old notepad. But okay, so our top 5 list. Number 5, MythBusters / Arrested Development. However, you guys, that was a tie. Number 4 was Angel. Number 3, Battlestar Galactica. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Again, The Office reference.
Full circle.
Number 2, Chuck, and number 1, obviously The Office, which number 1 show in America for a long time. So NBC needs another show like that. So
desperately.
All right. Yeah, that's going to wrap up 495 of the Moviecast. Thanks for tuning in. You can write us podcast at allyoucangeek.net. Follow us on Twitter, allyoucangeek. Like us on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. Hit the like button as well. Tune in next week. We got deep dive of a franchise coming. We're not sure what's going to be, but we'll figure that one out. Thanks again. See you then.